Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to show you how to play the Biblimino. When you are playing with 6 players, the player who has Genesis starts the game with any piece. But when you are playing with less or more than 6 players, it may happen that no player has Genesis. In this case, the player with the piece closest to Genesis starts the game with any piece. Now, we are going to start. Player number 1 is going to play.
I play Proverbs.
Player number 1 decides to play Proverbs. Proverbs is the 20th book of the Bible. It has 31 chapters for a total of 51 points. But because the player plays first, he has a bonus of 300 points. That gives him a total of 351 points for playing Proverbs. Player number 2.
I play Job.
Player number 2 plays Job. Job is the 18th book of the Bible. It has 42 chapters for a total of 60 points. Player number 2 makes 60 points and marks the points on his mark. Because player number 2 plays the book by itself, it makes just the amount of points written on the book. Player number 3.
I play Judges.
Player number 3 plays Judges. Judges, it's book number 7. It has 21 chapters for a total of 28 points. Player number 3 makes 28 points because it is played alone with no other piece next to it. Now, the round is finished. We are going to determine which player has the most point in the round. Player number 1 has the most point because he made 351 points for playing first, because when you're playing first, you have a bonus of 300 plus the point written on the piece, on the book. Player number 1 has won the round with 351 points. This player has a bonus of 150 points for winning the round. And he's going to start the game. Player number 1 is playing. Player number 1 decides to play Nehemiah. Nehemiah is book number 16. It has 13 chapters for a total of 29 points. Nehemiah. He makes 29 points. Player number 2.
I play Joshua.
Player number 2 plays Joshua. Joshua is book number 6. It has 24 chapters for a total of 30 points. But because player number 2 plays Joshua next to Judges, he makes a total of 130 points. Because when you play next to a book, you get a bonus of 100 points added to the points of your piece. In this case, you see Joshua, book number 6, 24 chapters for 30 points plus the 100 bonus makes the 130 points for player number 2. Player number 3.
I play Esther.
Player number 3 plays Esther. Esther is book number 17. It has 10 chapters for a total of 27 points. But because it plays in between of Job and Nehemiah, player number 3 makes 327 points. Because when you play between 2 books already played, the person who places the book in between of the 2 makes 300 points plus the points written on the piece. In this case, This player makes 27 points plus the 300 for a total of 327. And now the round is finished. We are going to determine which player wins the round. Player number 3 with a total of 327 wins the round. Because of that, he gets a bonus of 150 points. He marks his mark with that 150 points, and he's going to play first. Player number 1.
I play Exodus.
Remember, player number 3 becomes player number 1 now. He decides to play Exodus. He makes 42 points with Exodus. Exodus is book number 2. It has 40 chapters for a total of 42 points. As you can see, there's no other book played next to it. So he only makes the amount of points written on the piece or on the book if you want. Player number 2 is going to play a book. Acts. Player number 2 decides to play Acts. Acts is book number 44, and it has 28 chapters for a total of 72 points, and it is played by itself, meaning it only makes the amount of points written on the book. Player number 3.
I play Ezekiel.
Player number 3 plays Ezekiel. Ezekiel is book number 26. It has 48 chapters for a total of 74 points. It is played alone with no other piece next to it. It only makes the amount of points written on the piece. 26 plus 48 equals 74. This player makes 74 points. Now, the round is finished. We are going to determine once again who wins the round. Player who plays Ezekiel wins the round, and he makes a bonus of 150 points. Now he's going to start the game. He's going to start the game with any piece of his choice.
I play 1 Peter.
He decides to play 1 Peter. 1 Peter, book number 60. It has 5 chapters for a total of 65. And it is, once again, it is played by itself. There's no other book next to it. And it makes the 65 points. He's marked with 65 points. The second player. Next.
I play 1 Samuel.
The next player plays 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, book number 9. It has 31 chapters for a total of 40 points. And it is played by itself. He only makes the 40 points written on the book of 1 Samuel. Next player. Next player plays the book of Daniel. Daniel is the book number 27. It has 12 chapters for a total of 39 points. Here, Daniel is played next to Ezekiel. The player who plays Daniel makes 139 points. And he wins the round with 139 points. So this player, the player who makes the most points in the round wins the round. So the player who makes the most points in this round is the player who played Daniel for 139 points. Why? Because played next to Ezekiel, 100 points plus the points written on the book of Daniel makes it 139. The player wins the game, and he marks his mark with 150 points for winning the round. Now, this player who wins the round is going to start the game.
The next round.
It's going to start the next round. He's looking at all his books to see which one to play because he wants to make more points. He decides to play the book of Numbers. Book of Numbers. Played alone. Book number 4 has 36 chapters for a total of 40 points. Played alone with no other book next to it. It makes the 40 points. Next player.
I play Genesis.
Next player plays Genesis. Genesis next to Exodus. Look, next to Exodus. How many points again? 100 plus 51 of Genesis. This player makes 151 points. For now, this player is leading the round. Next player.
I play Ruth.
Next player decides to play Ruth. Ruth is book number 8. It has 4 chapters for a total of 12 points. Play next to Judges. In between of Judges and 1 Samuel. Because this player who plays Ruth plays in between of Judges and 1 Samuel, he makes 312 points. That tells you this player just wins the round with 330 and 312 points. And then he wins the round. He's going to get a bonus of 150 points. And he's going to start the next round. Now, he marks his mark with 150 more points. And he's going to start the new round.
I play Ezra.
He plays Ezra. Ezra, book number 15. 10 chapters for a total of 25 points. Play next to Nehemiah. He makes 125 points. Next player. Now, next player decides to play First Chronicles. First Chronicles, book number 13. It has 24 chapters for a total of 42 points. It plays the book alone with no other books next to it. It makes just the amount of points written, 42 points with First Chronicles. Next player.
I play 2 Thessalonians.
Next player plays 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians is book number 53. It has 3 chapters for a total of 56. It plays alone with no other books next to it. It makes just the amount written on the book, 56. Next player. The round is finished. The player with most points in the round wins the game. You remember the player with 325 points plays with Ezra between Nehemiah and Esther. The player who makes more points wins the round. And the player gonna mark his mark with 150 points. Next player. Player who wins the round, who won the round, is going to play the book of 1 John. 1 John, book 62. It has 5 chapters for 67 points. Remember, you have to keep track of the points. You have to keep track of the player who makes the most points. First book played, 67 points. Next player. Next player plays Leviticus, in between of Exodus and Numbers. This player makes how many points again? 300 plus 30 makes a total of 330 points. This player is leading the game for now. Is leading the round for now. Let's go to the next player.
I play Psalms.
Next player plays Psalm. Oh, next player plays Psalm in between of Job and Proverbs. Look at that. Psalm is book number 19. It has 150 chapters or 150 Psalms for a total of 169. But because the player plays in between of Job and Proverbs, this player just makes 469 points and wins the round. He wins the round with 469 points. This player has 150 points bonus and he's going to start the new round.
I play 1 Thessalonians.
This player decided to play 1 Thessalonian for 1 Thessalonian for a total of 57 points. 52. Book number 52 plus 5 chapters, 57. Play next to 2 Thessalonian for a total of 157. Remember, this player makes 157. Next player.
I play Joel.
Next player plays Joe. Joe, book number 29. 3 chapters for a total of 32 points plays alone next to any other book. It only makes this amount, 32 points. Remember, the player with 1 Thessalonians 157 points is leading the game so far. The next player is leading the round. Next player. Next player played James, the book of James. Look at that. Next to 1 Peter, book of James, number 59, 5 chapters, 64 points. Because it is played next to 1 Peter, bonus of 100, a total of 164. Now, the round is finished. Who wins the round? This player just starts the round with 164 points.
I have to stop it.